Question 5. You will hear a talk given by a man called Stanley Chung with an unusual hobby. Listen to the talk and complete the details below. Write 1 or 2 words or a number in each gap. You will hear the talk twice.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming along this evening to find out more about how to become a writer of quizzes like me. You'll get to meet lots of really interesting people and pick up all kinds of interesting facts and figures. You'd be surprised how many people and organisations request quizzes. Lots of people enjoy taking part in quizzes, where they compete in teams to win prizes. Usually they just do it for the fun of it, but sometimes they raise money for charity. People often get together after work and compete in teams at local venues just for fun. Other quizzes are more serious, where teams focus on specialist topics and prepare weeks ahead in the hope of beating the opposition. Most quizzes ask questions on general knowledge, and I find those relatively easy to compile. These include topics such as sports, music and history. People really enjoy the picture round, where they have to identify famous people. I've been interested in quizzes for a long time now, ever since I was young. In those days, I used to set them mainly for teenagers, but nowadays they are much more popular with adults who remember taking part in quizzes when they were children. The quiz I'm working on at the moment is for doctors, which is very different from the one before, which was all about music. It's a new subject area for me, so I'll need to do some research. In the past, I've written them on world explorers and geography, which required a lot of reading on my part. Occasionally, a quiz evening can end quite unexpectedly. For example, I was asked to organise a quiz for some people really interested in food. I was packing up to leave when the doors opened and in came a team of people carrying trays of delicious treats. Not cakes or sandwiches, but different kinds of exotic fruit I'd read about but never tasted. Wonderful! Another bonus is that I often get invited to unusual places by the people hosting a quiz evening. Last month, I gave a quiz on an open-top tourist bus, and next week I'll be on a cruise ship, which will be docked here for 3 days. The quiz evening is part of the entertainment programme, and my quiz will be based on the passenger's voyage. I can't wait. It should be great fun. And as for the future, well, I've been approached by a manufacturer of games to see if I'd be interested in devising quiz games for their website. Not something I've done before, but fortunately they've suggested I get together with one of their web designers who will help me. I'm rather nervous about the prospect, but I'm going to give it a try. And who knows? If it's successful, people all over the world could be enjoying my quizzes.
Question 8, Part A. You will hear a man giving a talk about a museum. Listen to the talk and complete the notes in Part A. Write 1 or 2 words or a number in each gap. You will hear the talk twice.
Welcome to this talk on the Museum of Zoology. As you all know, the museum is currently closed while some major redevelopment is taking place, but it's scheduled to reopen next year, which we are all very excited about. Let me begin by telling you briefly about the history of the museum. It actually dates back to 1814, but moved to its present site in 1865. The original museum building was knocked down in 1965, and a new building was erected on the same site. It reopened in 1973 with large modern display galleries, which were a leading example of best practice in zoology museums at that time. The current redevelopment will bring the museum into the 21st century. There are three major elements to the redevelopment work. Firstly, there will be a dramatic new entrance to the museum. It'll be made of glass and known as the Whale Hall, and this will provide a safe home for an entire skeleton of a finback whale. This is the largest on display anywhere in the world, so it deserves to be in a spectacular place. The entrance will be 2 floors high, enabling visitors to see the skeleton either from the ground level or from a walkway which will take you from the entrance through to a cafe, all on the first floor. Inside the museum, the display areas have been redesigned, which means that visitors will be able to see much more of the museum's vast collection. And another very important part of this project is to build new stores, which will make it possible for the museum to preserve its collections for future generations. There is no room for expansion in the current stores, which has been an issue because the museum's collections are constantly growing. The museum has always been very popular with students and school groups, so there will also be new facilities with these visitors in mind. There will be a large activity room, providing space for schools to provide lessons or give demonstrations, and also what we call a discovery space, which focuses on local wildlife and will contain displays and hands-on activities for school groups. Before I continue, I'd like to show you some pictures of what the new museum will look like. So, here on the screen are some of the architect's images, and I hope you agree that they really do look quite spectacular. We're hoping that the new design will help to attract thousands of new visitors, yourselves included.
Question 8, Part B. Now listen to a conversation between 2 students about the museum and complete the notes in Part B. Write up to 3 words or a number in each gap. You will hear the conversation twice.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the museum when it reopens next year.
Me too. Have you seen their website?
Yes, I had a look at that straight after the talk. I found out quite a lot about the redevelopment, which is interesting.
But so expensive. I know they got funding to pay for most of it, but apparently the museum had to ask the public for £3 million as well.
And the whole thing is costing £18 million. It's incredible, isn't it?
I suppose that amount of money's worth it if they can get so much more on display. I read the museum has about 4 million specimens in all, but before this work started, they could only show about 5,000 of them at one time.
So they'll be able to keep the popular exhibits on display, but bring new ones out too. The giant sloth is most people's favourite, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Asian elephant. It's been locked away for ages, which seems such a shame.
I agree. I bet the museum will be fairly busy when it reopens. Everyone will want to check out the new displays. And schools too, because of course they haven't been able to go there on school trips since the development work started.
But I read the museum has been doing special visits to schools instead.
And they have packs of material which they lend to schools for teachers to use. So the school collects a box which contains lots of things relevant to a particular topic, takes it away, uses it in class, then returns it within 2 weeks. There's one called Shell Detective. It has lots of different shells in it from beaches all over the world. And another one called Under the Sea, which has different species of underwater wildlife to learn about.
It'll be good when schools can go back there on trips, though. And they'll be running their special events again from next year.
They do all sorts of events. There's one called the Festival of Ideas, which I like the sound of. And also there's National Science Week. More people turn up for that than for any of the others. There were over 3,000 visitors for the last one.
Wow! I like the fact that all sorts of different people go to this museum, and hopefully will do when it reopens. People come from all over the world for a variety of reasons. I read that some just want to work out what an animal is that they've found on their travels or in their back garden. And there are artists who want to study something for their work. They're not just people interested in science, it seems.
Well, I'm definitely going to go as soon as I get the chance.
Me too.